there are indigenous trails that we're mapping, and we suspect the Anza party followed an indigenous trail. We've always suspected that. With this project, we're actually finding those trails, and we're able to conclude, I believe, fairly confidently that which trails the Anza party followed, based on the time periods of the pottery that we're finding along the trail. The Great Bend of the Gila is culturally significant because it's ancestral land of many tribes. So contemporary tribes, there's 13 that we know of that have heritage connections to this landscape. Ancestral Peeposh communities were behind me. And then in front of me are O'odham communities today, but where archaeologists call Hohokam, or probably we should call them Huugam communities. Basically what we do is we flag all the artifacts that we can see on the ground surface. And these artifacts include pottery, flake stone, occasionally pieces of shell. And as we put the flags in the ground, these linear patterns emerge. And so the field team flags, and then someone, myself in this situation, will map each point that's flagged. And I'll record in my log what it is. And then over the day, we'll map out a mile or more of these alignments, and then we'll do it the next day.
Just looking for the next potsherd, the next one, the next one, the next one, just basically just building that line of potsherds to document on a map, and we can see where we're going. We can see these trails. And as far as archaeology goes, a potsherd is particularly just a piece of pottery. My name's Charles Ronald Arrow. I'm a tribal member of the Quetzal tribe. I'm also a descendant of the Kokpa tribe out in Yuma. So I am what is called a data collection specialist in the field of preservation archaeology. So basically what drew me in was I needed a job. It helped me have a better understanding of what the tribes and everybody else previously had gone through. And I was actually a part of that. I was actually walking these trails and documenting and stuff. So it gave me a better understanding of who I am as far as my tribes and stuff. But I think it just helped me enrich my little feeling of heritage for myself. I later found out that my ancestors, my great aunt and my grandmother as well, were into archaeology, preservation archaeology at the time, which I've never really understood until after they had passed. Basically, it started as a job, and over the years, it snowballed into it's a part of my family and who I've been. So I'm just right now, I feel like I'm carrying on that kind of legacy as far as preservation goes, as far as like my tribe and like the family.
Preservation archaeology is a practice. It places the value set on preserving what's there as opposed to extracting information from it. I went into anthropology as a young student because I was disillusioned with the social environment I was raised in. And so I wanted to learn more about the world and people. And so I went into archaeology professionally. And I spent about 5 or 6 years in basically contract archaeology, where there's a lot of destruction. And the more indigenous folks I met and talked with, I learned that these aren't just vacant places. They're part of the living landscape. They're part of people's lives and heritage. They just may not live there. And so I had an epiphany where I wanted to do archaeology, but I didn't want to destroy what I was doing. I didn't want to destroy the places I was coming to love. And so I was fortunate to find a place where I can do that. I can actively work to preserve important places and build connections between community and place. A lot of these connections have been severed through, obviously, centuries of settler colonialism. And so I can work to make the world a better place using the capacity and the skill sets that I have. The Anza expedition would not have been successful without the indigenous guides. The indigenous knowledge that they basically used or exploited in a way to reach their destination point. It's part of this larger narrative of settler colonialism in the Southwest, where it wouldn't have been possible without the aid and assistance of the indigenous communities who may not have benefited from that larger process, that social process. And so it feeds into this larger historical narrative. Archaeology can be exploited if it's not done ethically and sound, and if it's not done in community. And so what tribal collaboration does is it helps build those relationships And in a way, it helps remedy the harms archaeology has done in the past, and some archaeology continues to do. And so, in a sense, tribal collaboration is a way of healing.